All right, good morning. If you haven't done the warm up yet, make sure you go through and do the warm up. It should be a cartoon illustration uh, depicting a laboratory and some things going on in there. Some students are doing. So go through and do that. Take a look at that photo. I'm sure you've seen it before in past science courses, uh, but go in there, do your warm up, and come back to this video if you haven't done it already. Okay, so for physics or IPC, since both classes should be watching this video, we're going to be doing labs throughout the school year. Okay, that involve a bunch of different equipment, safety procedures, and some things that could potentially harm you. And we want to be sure we protect from that the best way we can, especially in IPC. All right, when we get to the chemistry portion, we're going to be dealing with a lot of glassware and some other equipment, if broken, can really harm you. So we're going to go through this lab safety uh, demonstration. It's just some rules to follow for labs, in the lab to make sure that you keep yourself, your students, and your teacher very safe. Okay, and the rules in this presentation should help you with the exercise that you're going to do after this video. Okay, so let's get to it. What are the rules of lab safety? Let's see. First, be alert and responsible at all times in the laboratory. Okay, don't be dozing off. Don't be twiddling your fingers. Know what's going on around you. Follow all written and verbal instructions carefully. If you do not understand a direction or part of a procedure, ask before proceeding with the activity. Okay, that's very important. If you don't understand something and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, don't continue with the experiment. Don't do that. You could hurt yourself or somebody else. A lot of the physics demonstrations we're doing, yeah, probably not so much. You just get a bad grade because you don't know what you're doing. But in chemistry, definitely for sure. Okay, be sure you know what you're doing before you do it. Okay, third, never work alone in the laboratory. No student may work in the lab without the presence of the teacher. Okay, if I have to leave for some reason, we have to leave out of the classroom. Boom, we're stopping. We're not doing anything. We're not working in the lab. Okay, don't come into class and start working in a lab if I'm not in it. Like say you come to class early, class hasn't started yet. I haven't kicked off the class. Be sure that you don't just start fiddling with things and getting into stuff and trying to experiment. Okay. And for those that may have to do experiments from home that are distance learners, uh, be sure you're not there by yourself. If you're doing something, be sure maybe your parent or someone else is there to make sure they can help you if something does go wrong, or just someone where if you do get hurt, there's someone there to make sure that you get the help you need. But honestly, I don't see us doing experiments like that from home. I really don't, where you could potentially get hurt because I just, honestly, I don't want to be, because I don't want to be responsible for that if I assign y'all something and you get hurt. So, but just in case. Okay. When first entering the lab, do not touch any equipment. Oops. Any equipment, chemicals, or other materials in the laboratory area until you're instructed to do so. I had a lot of students last year. In physics, we have a lot of cool little trinkets we deal with, slinkies and balls and rope and a bunch of cool stuff, and they want to go in a class start playing with it. No, we ain't gonna do that. All right, leave it alone. If you see something laying out on a table, on one of the lab tables or something, do not touch it until I say so. because it's there for a reason, and it might be laid out a certain way, and I don't want you messing up the whole lab for everybody. Okay. Next, perform only those experiments authorized by your teacher. Carefully follow all instructions, both written and oral. There are some lab books in here in my classroom and the other science classrooms. If I tell you to do one experiment, don't go flip to the lab book and do another one. If you finish early or you just get bored, don't do that. All right, y'all are young scientists. Many of you may not have ever had experience in a science lab before. You should, but maybe you didn't for some reason. Okay, and we don't want you to go off on your own and end up hurting yourself. All right, here's a big one. Don't eat food, drink beverages, or chew gum in the laboratory. Okay, and don't use laboratory glassware as containers for food or beverages. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, I know if you're doing a lab, you get thirsty. Don't take your water, your soda, whatever to the lab. All right. If you find a stopping point and you absolutely have to have something to drink, leave the lab area. Don't take food there, and I don't expect you using burners or anything like that, but don't have the anticipation of roasting marshmallows and stuff, especially without the teacher's permission. That should go unsaid though, right? Next, no horseplay in the lab area. Don't start running around acting a fool. You can hurt yourself or others, especially when glassware is involved or something sharp. Okay. Horseplay can seriously hurt yourself or others, and we don't want to see that happen. If there is any horseplay in the laboratory, or when we're doing an experiment, I'll ask you to sit out, and you won't be able to do it. And any grade that you receive will reflect where you were at in the lab when I told you to leave. Okay, you will not get a chance to make that up. So be sure you behave in an appropriate manner. And that's not just in the laboratory, it's in my classroom. Okay. All right, always work in a well-ventilated area, especially dealing with chemicals or fumes, but I'll make sure that happens for you guys. I'm not going to have y'all breathing in toxins in an enclosed area. Work area should be kept neat, clean, and tidy at all times. A dirty work area can lead, with spills and equipment strewn everywhere, can lead to accidents, tripping, falling, knocking stuff off the tables, and that's something you don't want. All right, so be sure you keep your work area clean. The next one says, notify the teacher immediately of any unsafe conditions you observe. All right, if you're doing your experiment and you see a little Johnny over there, drinking hydrochloric acid, or doing something unsafe, let me know about it, because I don't have 1,000 eyes. I can only see with my two, so I don't catch everything. So if you see something unsafe, or if you think something may be unsafe that you're doing, let me know, and we'll get it worked out. Okay, don't feel like a tattletale if someone's over there doing something they ain't supposed to be doing. Okay, let me know, and I'll take care of it. All right, the next one says, dispose of all chemical waste properly. Never mix chemicals in sink drains. Sinks are to be used only for water. Okay, so unless I instruct you to do so, do not pour chemicals down the drain. Physics students, you probably won't be dealing with chemicals a whole lot, but if we do, for some reason, because there are some instances where there may be some chemicals involved, especially when we get into light diffraction and stuff like that. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, we could have some chemicals involved. Don't just go to the sink. Don't go to the bathroom and dump them down the drain. Listen to me. I'll listen to what I tell you and how to dispose of it properly. Next, Labels and equipment instructions should be read carefully before use. If there's a piece of equipment that you've never used before or you're not sure how to use it, be sure you read the instructions. If there's none on there, surely I would have given you some instructions. And labels, that has to do with like chemicals and stuff. If there's something toxic in there, even if I've told you, be sure you read it anyhow, just as good practice. Okay. Third on here, keep hands away from face, eyes, mouth, and body while using chemicals or lab equipment. Wash your hands with soap and water after performing all experiments. When you're dealing with chemicals or lab equipment, don't go touching your face and nose or your eyeballs, because chemicals, toxins, and stuff can absorb through your skin and other orifices in your body. So be sure not to do that. Okay. Know the locations of operating procedures of all safety equipment, including first aid kits, fire extinguisher. Know where the fire alarm and the exits are located. Okay. In the case of an emergency, if a fire breaks out or someone gets cut, anything like that, just know where it's at. Okay. Know where. If there is a first aid kit in here, be sure you know where it's located. Any fire extinguishers, anything like that. Now, if we do have to do an experiment where we may need those things, we won't do it in my classroom. Okay, we'll go find a science lab somewhere because my classroom does not have those things. So we'll be in the lab. And in which case, since it's kind of out of our comfort zone, I'll make sure you're briefed on that stuff and where to find it. Okay. Anytime chemicals, heat, or glassware are used, students will wear safety goggles. Okay, that's important because sometimes glassware shatters, and especially when heat is applied, or if it breaks and like someone drops it, and a shard shoots off the table and lands in your eye. That'll be a real bad deal. Okay, so we're gonna make sure we use safety goggles. Next, dress properly during laboratory activity. Long hair, dangling jewelry, loose ragged clothing are a hazard in the laboratory. Long hair must be tied back, and dangling jewelry and baggy clothing must be secured. Shoes must completely cover the foot. No sandals or lab on lab days. Okay, that's important because especially if you're dealing with heat, stuff like that, you don't want long hair getting in the way. Okay, you don't want it, especially don't want it to get damaged, or cause a hazard. So you'll tie that back, and feel like the rest is self-explanatory. Closed-toe shoes are important when dealing with chemicals. You don't want to spill anything on your skin or your feet, or if you drop an object like glassware or another heavy object, it may not seem like it, but that protect, even in tennis shoes or slippers, that covering over your foot will help protect from any damages. Okay, report any accident or injury to the teacher immediately, no matter how trivial it seems, and do not panic. Someone gets cut or something, and they're bleeding. It's hard not to panic. You see that, but come let me know. We'll deal with it properly. If your lab partner is hurt, immediately yell at the teacher's name and get the teacher's attention, and do not panic. So if there's something where you can't leave your lab partner because he or she's hurt too bad, just holler for my name and I'll come and help you all out. If a chemical is to splash in your eyes or on your skin, immediately flush with running water for at least 20 minutes. Immediately and loudly yell at the teacher's name to get the teacher's attention, and then in which case I'll come take you to the eye wash station and we'll make sure that that you're good to go, and we get them out. We get them eyes cleaned out. Never return unused chemicals to their original container. Okay, if you take out, let's say, we'll just use basic table salt, right? If you use table salt and you pour it out of the original container to use for an experiment, don't put it back into that container. Okay, I'll dispose of it properly, or follow the instructions that I give you for disposal. We don't do that because we don't want to try to contaminate the original substance anyway. All right, so that's why we don't do that. Never remove chemicals or other materials from the laboratory area. That's important because if we start taking chemicals and stuff away from it, we start walking down the halls or going to other classrooms with that equipment, something happens, there's there may not be immediate safety procedures to deal with that, and equipment can get lost. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Equipment can get lost and misplaced from the lab, and it can end up in the wrong hands. So we don't want that to happen either. Never handle broken glass with your bare hands. Use a brush or dustpan to clean up broken glass. Place broken glass in the designated glass disposal container. Okay. If you break some glassware, don't just start picking up shards. You can cut yourself, hurt yourself. We don't want that to happen. I'll go get a broom, dustpan, and we'll clean it up. Okay. And finally, for the last slide, if you do not understand how to use a piece of equipment, ask the teacher for help. Okay, that's why I'm here. If you don't understand something, ask me, and I'll explain it every way I can to make sure that we do lab safely. Okay. And do not immerse hot glassware in cold water. The glassware may shatter. When we get into thermodynamics, you'll see why, and thermal expansion, we'll see why this happens. Some of y'all may already know, but you take hot glassware and you immediately change the temperature by dipping it in cold water. It will shatter, or it may shatter, or crack. Okay, so do not do that. All right, and that sums it up for lab safety rules. Let's take this information, do the assignment. As a reminder, be sure you do warm-ups and do your assignments from the previous day. Okay. If you haven't done it already, you were counted absent for yesterday. Okay. If you have not done your assignments, for yesterday, you were counted absent as of this morning. So to avoid that, be sure you get your stuff done. Okay. All right. Well, good luck on that. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or leave it in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.